missing Mr. John. Where is he?
Well, it's only 9:58, so.
If you are in practice, if you are having to like sneak aside, that is all good. We've had people in surgery. We've had people in their cars. Someone, Julie. We've had people walking their dogs. We've had people getting ready in the morning. You name it. The Bridge Club is meant to be that thing of you can come out whenever you want.
I'm gonna run and get a cup.
Good. No,
I
go,
can drink
Nicole,
my
go.
juicy juice.
Good job, Nicole. You can do that.
I love it. Nicole is off and about.
Critical. Critical.
I love it. Hey, Kara, how are you? It's nice to see your beautiful face. I love all this. I was going to see if I could be sending a quick note to John. Brenna, can you send a quick note to John so if I have to get started?
Yeah, good. Hey, good idea. Happy to.
That way we're on time as we move forward here. 1 minute to go. If you can turn on if you have a camera, we encourage you to turn your camera on. It is part of the engagement. It's what makes the Bridge Club, and you'll see that we're in all different stages. Some of us are late in the morning, early morning. Some may have just gotten off of a shift. So it's all those things as we move forward.
All those things always.
Okay, we are less than a minute. And so hopefully we can get some folks to turn on their, you guys are gonna think, oh my God, she's a broken record, but there's a reason for it all. You'll appreciate it as we're going.
Critical to our mission.
Yes.
And so
we are committed. All right, we are top of the hour, so we are going to get started. I do anticipate people coming in as we're moving along, as that just happens just now. Hopefully people turn on their cameras. For those of you, if this is your very first Bridge Club, welcome to the Bridge Club. My name is Catherine Haskins, and the beautiful woman to my right, she may not be your right, is Brenda Andreessen. We founded the Bridge Club specifically to create the very first video-based community by which people can connect, engage, learn, and grow. And this is only for the veterinary industry. So this does not exist anywhere else on the planet. We are the first to have it. And we did this because we felt like that if we could actually see each other and talk to each other outside of conferences, imagine what we could get done. Imagine. So we often joke around that we are TED Talks meets LinkedIn meets an old-fashioned book club. So it's meant to be laughter, it's meant for engagement, and to bring important topics like what we're going to talk about today forward. So I will say it again, please turn on your camera if you have one, because that's critically important. I'm going to have you get your beverage ready. We have two amazing ladies joining us today to talk about the opportunities in that are available in telemedicine for technicians. And we also we're waiting for there he is. There's John. John, wait.
No.
There's John. John Dillon is here as well, and he is from Guardian Vet. And so he is a telemedicine company. He will tell us a little bit about that as well. So can help explain some more of the opportunities that are out there. Before I turn it over to Julie for our toast, I do want to thank absolutely everyone for being technicians. I want to thank you for your service to the profession. This week was committed and dedicated just for you. And so we are very excited for your service. You need to be honored every day, but this week we get to give you special honors, if you will. So to that, I turn it over to Julie for our toast.
All right, well, I'm going to repeat some of what Catherine said. Is you guys are all amazing. You are very passionate about what you do. Our profession is great. So here's to our profession continuing to grow, for all the passion that you have, and to the Bridge Club for getting us this week, because it's been awesome. Cheers.
Julie. Cheers.
Okay, so let's dive on in. The way we're going to kind of go about this, I'm going to have this in my way. I have that sucker. The way that I want to go about this is I'm going to ask some questions, kind of a Q&A, but we'll open it up so people can also ask other questions as we kind of go around. Julie, would you tell them a little bit about yourself first, because I didn't do a full introduction, and then talk about some of the traditional vehicles and ways that people can be involved in telemedicine overall.
Okay. So I am a certified veterinary technician, have been for, I hate to say it, but over 35 years. And yes, I did work on fossils back in the day, but I've been I've had the very fortunate career path of pretty much doing everything veterinary technology, small animal exotic, large animal medicine with my husband's company, nonprofit, organizational, veterinary teaching, hospitals, research, you name it, I've probably done it. And it just, it's amazing how our area, our profession can change with how you change to how your lifestyle changes. But most recently, I am the executive director of the Win Feline Foundation. I also had an opportunity to work in telemedicine, answering questions by email, interacting with the public through video, pictures, and it's pretty interesting what they send over. But you gain a lot of knowledge and understanding of the client because you see a pattern. They're really looking for information because they don't understand what they need to be seeing the veterinarian for. So you have to play a big part of that.
A little bit about your background in telemedicine and how telemedicine plays out with pet owners. Did we get you midstream before we started echoing there? Was there a finish to the thought?
Well, I think just to repeat a little bit of the last word I said is that
Make you scratchy.
Go ahead.
Just understanding the client comes about even more face front
Probably need another person.
because we all assume that they understand what we're trying to tell them,
She's
but when
100
we
pounds.
interact with them at a telemedicine
I
type
think
of
probably can do it. But
you truly get an understanding that they don't. And I think that, and Becky and I worked at the same place. She's got a little bit more experience than I do, just because she's worked at other facilities too. But this was they would email you, you'd answer them back. They'd send videos or photos of what was going on, or just questions. And then you had an opportunity to talk to them up to like 3 times. And I did this for about 3 years, loved it. It gave me time to where I could work at home. I could do this, pick the schedule that I wanted. But I know there's a lot of different opportunities out there these days, and even more so coming about with everything telemedicine that's happening in our profession right now. And I don't know, Becky, if you want to chime in, and then John, or John and then Becky, or
Catherine's still muted. I don't know if that's because that's fine. So we're carrying on, Catherine. We're carrying on.
No, I had a dog barking.
Oh, okay. All right.
Keep going.
Would love to hear too, Becky. I'd love to hear Becky talk a little bit about poison control too, because I think most of us don't think of poison control as like an original form of telemedicine, right? So many people get all carried away about what telemedicine is and BCPRs and everything, but we've had poison control around for years and have used it quite successfully. So Becky, would love your thoughts there.
Yeah, so I have had experience on phone triage and through the Q&A with Miss Julie, but I work with the ASPCA field investigation response team, and part of the ASPCA that I haven't worked with them directly, but we do have the ASPCA pet poison hotline, and then there's the pet poison control. So there's a couple branches of poison control, and I think that when I think back to the history of telemedicine, like these have been around for a long time, and they've been opportunities for specifically veterinary technicians. Both of these organizations utilize technicians. I know John's organization utilizes technicians. So it's really been a nice porthole for technicians who, you hear so frequently, I've got kids, I can't be out of the house right now. My husband was in the Marine Corps for 9 years, and, moving around and things get hard, and this becomes something that technicians can do to sort of empower themselves. So pet poison's been around forever, and it's saved a lot of lives. In fact, I had to call it myself last year for the first time in my whole life, and I paid full price. I was so offended, but my dog ate something I didn't know about, and I called the ER, and they were like, you know what, Becky, we don't know. it turns out nutritional yeast is okay.
That's hysterical. Well, one of the things that I think that a lot of people want to hear about is like, where can you find the opportunities? So obviously we're giving the wide variety here, but I'd love to have, John, we'll have you jump in last because obviously you have very selfish reasons for also wanting, because your company does this, but like Beckie and, Julie, I'd really love to find out, how can people find out about where the opportunities are? And then we'll jump in to a few more questions with regards to that.
So if you really think about it, we've been doing this for ever since I was a tech. That's a long time. So even just triaging the patient when they call in, you're basically doing this already. You can take it to another step within your practice even. John will talk more about the services that they offer because you can bring in different companies that actually offer the service after hours for you. But if you want to get into it more in your practice, and this is another thing that we brought up the last couple days about bringing ideas to the forefront to your boss and getting buy-in. This is another way of going about doing it. There's a lot of different organizations right now that are coming about with new apps that you can purchase for your practices. There's a lot of different services like John's company that has opportunities, and these are wide open to technicians too because they need your on the ground experience. And I'll let Beckie chime in too. There's a lot of stuff coming about that will be.
I think you're right. I think using technology is one of the smartest things. There are job, search engines such as Indeed.com where you can use keywords, and obviously veterinary medicine and telemedicine are great ways to kind of track those companies. I know that most of these organizations have a presence at the major conferences. And so if you're going to VMX or WVC or one of the larger conferences this year in the exhibit hall, keep your eye out for these types of companies because they're there and they're recruiting a lot of times. But I think some really just quick internet searches can find you the companies, and keeping your eye on them, sending your resume, reaching out to them. I think it's always a smart thing. And I always say it, but being involved, we connected, Miss Julie and I just connected with John, gosh, I don't know, a year or two ago now, just through that very means of just being around and being connected and being involved. And then these people are reaching out to you because they need to find people in the industry that they know you're connected to. So always being involved has always been beneficial.
Yeah.
So I will, go ahead.
I was just going to say that even if the opportunity isn't being advertised necessarily, if you see one of these companies, ask, because they don't know how to reach you as technicians too.
Right.
We're very bad in the profession about connecting each other unless you're out there, involved with different organizations. So if you've got ideas, bring it to them too, because they may not know that they need you.
So before I go to a question for John, I do want to know, can you work for your practice and still do telemedicine if it is not a part of your practice?
I think there's different companies have different ways of doing it. One of the phone-based companies I had worked with some pretty non-competes. And then one of the Q&A was very liberal, very open. You could work with whoever you really wanted to. And in that time, it was sort of doing more than one. So it depends on the organization, but it's a very important question to ask so you don't get yourself in a pinch.
Julie, did you want to add anything?
Well, I was just going to say too that you want to be very careful too, because some of these, John's company is one that is very well aware of this, but the VCPR has to come into play. It's got to be in the back of your mind as you're doing these things, because it's very easy to cross the line too. So make sure that it's a reputable company and that you're asking the questions that don't get you into trouble.
Which is where I was going to lead with John next, is that not all telemedicine companies are the same. We're not saying one is better than another, but you offer a service that is a different kind of telemedicine company. In fact, sometimes I argue that you'll say after hours, but why don't we walk through a little bit about the difference between the different types of telemedicine companies, and then I'll let you give a little plug on you guys too, but then as we go through, as we're answering questions.
Sure, yeah, thank you. So telemedicine, or telehealth broadly, is a pretty broad term. So telemedicine is remote diagnosis and treatment. That's going to happen if the VCPR already exists. So if that physical examination has been done with the pet. And what we like to focus on is just after-hour triage at the moment. So, you know, I'm with Guardian Vets, and we have some team members as well. So I had Kathy, Nicole, and Christiana is also here helping out with the Q&A. But our mission really is that the general practice should be the focal point. If your client has a medical question regarding their pet, and what we would like to do is, you know, daytime, we feel like the client should be calling you. After hours, they should still be calling you. And we have a team of medical professionals that can help pick up the line and help them understand if the issue is an emergency or not. So from our point of view, it's not if the pet needs to be seen, but rather how soon. And what we focus on is, you know, triaging the client, or the patient rather, and helping the client understand, do I need to be seen right now at the emergency room, or can I wait? In which case we can help you schedule an appointment for the next business day.
So I think that's really helpful. But with all that, with the after hours, and maybe I don't want to put Christiana on the spot because she's driving, and technically we want to be careful about that. But I will say I am curious, and I'll unmute you. Oh, you did already.
I'm just in the car.
I wanted to find out, like, what do your typical hours look like? So I think that would be interesting. You do work with Guardian Vet, and so we can go around for other folks as well. But I am curious, you know, how many hours are you putting in typically in a shift or in a time frame?
Yeah, so it's anywhere from 40 hours to, I mean, if you want less, if you want more, like it's kind of nice because it can be flexible. You know, and it's very similar in the clinic where, you know, if you can't get your shift, you know, if you have a shift and you need it covered, you just work with your team and you figure it out, you know, to get the shift covered. But it is a very, very flexible schedule, I would say, of just kind of having, you know, a variety of hours, weekends, weekdays, overnights, that kind of thing.
So John, what is the typical hours for like a part-timer for you? How many hours do they typically work?
We like to see at least 10 hours a month, but like Christiana said, I think Nicole and Kathy can echo, it varies depending on your needs. We offer a very flexible arrangement where we understand what hours we need for coverage, and we do a lot of statistical analysis on the back end to see when we have peak hours and when we need to double, triple up, for example, with people on at a particular moment. But for any individual, you can just tell us when you're free, and we'll make that work. We're more concerned with making sure that you're the right person, you have the right qualifications, you have the right experience, and you're passionate about doing triage, and that you have the soft skills over the phone. I think all of us know that there's people there that have really great medical backgrounds, but maybe aren't necessarily great over the phone, or have that soft interpersonal skills that are so important when clients reach out and are anxious after hours. So those are some of the things that we look for.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, are all of your people that are here in Chicago, or are they remote other places? I just want to make sure that people are clear that you might not necessarily have to be in your location.
Yeah, ironically, both Kathy and I are from Arizona, and
Yep.
I'm
And
not sure
Nicole,
where he's located.
oh,
you're on mute, Nicole.
wait, let's unmute you.
There we
Let's,
go.
wait, no, hang on. She's still muted.
You may need to unmute herself. There you go, Nicole.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'm actually in Las Vegas. And so being able to work remotely helps me a lot because I have children. I have young children. And to be able to be flexible with my work hours is amazing. It allows me to do what I need to do for my family, you know, have that work-life type of balance. And I really appreciate it.
Oh, is that the 5?
This is a 5. Can't you tell this is a 5, right? What's wrong with you all? This is a 5.
I was like, where is it as we're going through it? So Kathy, I would be curious from you, since you do this, like, what is your favorite part of doing the telemedicine versus being in the hospital?
I've actually got a couple of different favorite parts. One of the best is I like to be able to help people that just were panicky and just, you know, thinking their animal's dying. I love to be able to tell them, it's not going to die. Don't worry. Take a deep breath. And, you know, the relief that you hear in their voice is just so nice, so perfect. And of course, I love working at home. This came about, my mom was dying. and I had to quit my job of 10 years to stay home to take care of her. And this just fell into my lap, which I thought, oh, too good to be true, scam, you know, but I did it. And sure enough, you know, it's been like a perfect job because I got to be at home while my mom died. And I got to take care of her. So while working.
That's fantastic.
Turned out.
I am going to open this up to the community because I want to be sure that we are conscious of time, and people obviously were really excited about this topic, but I'm going to kind of put out there, because I know this is a topic everyone does want to know the answer to, and that is like, how much does it pay? How much can it pay? Right? So that's where this really comes down to. And so I will save John from having to answer this question and basically across the board. But we've talked with a couple of companies across the board, and it can be, you know, starting at $15 an hour and go up from that. So as you guys are looking at the opportunities that are available, I won't put one company on the spot and have them give away any of the secrets, but as an average, that's what you can be looking at, is to potentially for either supplemental income or as a part-time or full-time job. So I do have a few others, but is there anything, this topic obviously intrigued a lot of people. I'd love to hear what questions you might have.
Dana has a question. Dan, I think you're on mute still, so unmute yourself and ask away, or I can unmute you.
Are you talking to me?
Okay, yes.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to know, I haven't been in the field all that long, about 3 years. What kind of experience are most of these companies looking for as far as longevity?
John, why don't you jump in on that, since you would be the great expert?
Sure. So every company's business model, I could talk a little bit more broadly, is different. We have an in-house team. There are companies out there that will have loose, you know, collectives of people that hop in and hop out, kind of like Uber style. But we do a pretty heavy vetting process. So most of our team members have at least 5 years experience, a mix of general and ER practice, and specifically pretty good with triage specifically. So that's what we tend to see. You guys have, Nicole, Christiana, or Kathy, do you have any other thoughts about the rest of the team? Or that sum it up?
We work well together. I mean, we all have different strengths where, like, you know, this person will be more knowledgeable in one area. We've got, you know, we've got exotics, we've got large animals. It's nice. We talk about different things at meetings to share our ideas, to give other people ideas about, you know, what needs to be said to different problems. So I think, I don't know, I think we have a real good team, and yeah, it just seems to work.
Sure. And Jana Connell, you had a question too. You're raising your hand.
Yeah, well, I just got in here late. I taught pretty late last night, so I slept in. I just wondered, I know we're talking about telemedicine, but what kind are we talking about? Like poison control center or?
So we're doing all kinds of telemedicine. We kind of showcase at the beginning that it's not just what you typically think. I mean, poison control was a new one for me, though that's probably the oldest one. But now that there's means in your practice, as well as after hours, like what John and his company offer, as long as the VCPR is intact, as Julie has indicated here. But so we're looking at all opportunities across the board for telemedicine.
And that's, I think, the key word is, what are the opportunities for technicians within the telemedicine space?
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Poison control doesn't hire in California for some reason, so.
Missouri either.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, I've contacted them many times, and they keep saying maybe soon, but you know, I sit on almost all their seminars, and I get the same answer every time. I'm like, what? Why not here? So yeah.
Talk to someone like Guardian Vet, because I think they hire across the United States.
Yeah,
I didn't hear that. What vet?
Guardian Vet.
Yes.
See, John, how many times can we say this? Guardian Vet, Guardian Vet, Guardian Vet.
Oh, Guardian Vet. Oh,
Yeah.
the insurance company.
No.
We're expanding. We're expanding.
I'm sorry. What is it? What do they do?
You'll have to watch the recording. You'll get all
Okay.
the
You're right. I will. Thank you.
So Jana, the CEO is a couple of spots above your head. So
Raise
that
your hand, John.
on that. So hey, John, as you're kind of going through, any other questions as we're talking about this topic, because it is really important that I think the technicians are the engine behind all of this. So is there any other questions before I kind of jump in on a few additionals?
And I will note we are at 10:26 now, 10:26 Central Standard Time. So anybody who must, we got off to a little bit of a late start, but anybody who must jump off, we certainly recognize that we promised a short period of time. So if you must, you certainly can, depart now. We hope you'll hang on because I think there's some good conversation yet to come.
There definitely is, and I will say that I appreciate everyone dialing back in. I'm sure that Brenda said that when I was having my own little kerfunkle, but we clearly got rid of the echo, which was important. So I am kind of curious about this. I'm interested. I would like all of our hosts to jump in, and then maybe John can jump in as well. But how can a veterinary technician support their own community or help their hospital, I should say, not their own community, but their own hospital if they're not advocates of telemedicine or do not currently offer something? What tools or resources can be offered to them to get them to start to pull this in as another opportunity for their technicians and the community as a whole?
Well, I think just checking out what's already there and morphing it to what your needs are. Trying to decide whether a service is better for you or implementing your own version of telemedicine into your practice. Because I think that everything that's out there is a little bit different and has special things to offer, but you need, as your individual practice needs to understand what you're looking to fulfill, and maybe it's a client survey that's going to help you too.
Oh, that's really smart.
That's
Looking at
I like that.
Yeah, the data of your customer base. Becky, do you have any ads? You're on mute. You're on mute.
I'm so sorry to be on mute. My dog is barking as though I'm sure it's a squirrel or something, but it is going to break into my house and murder me. So she's on full protection mode there. And that's why I'm upstairs in my closet. So for me, I was, if you know me, it always goes back to why. And so I'm like, if your clinic isn't currently doing it or not, maybe open to it, why? Get more information from your veterinarian. A lot of the old school thinking is afraid of telehealth and where this goes, and it's going to take all our customers. And I'm like, not even close. It's going to open up the appointment slots for the clients who need to be there, and it's going to give ease and peace of mind to the clients who don't. So if you're not currently doing this and you're getting resistance, find out what the resistance is and try to help work past that fear, because all this is really doing is providing great customer service. We are helping our clients get information right away. And I can tell you how many visits we probably saved when saying like, no, your boy cat does have nipples. You don't have to go to the vet. It's all right. So, you free up that time in the clinic, or that, no, your boy cat going in and out of the potty box 6 times in the last 30 minutes, that's a drop everything and go. And then, you're saving a life. So for me, there's nothing but good.
I think
That's an excellent comment. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I like what Becky said, because the idea specifically for guardian vets is we want to keep pets with their regular vet. So for the regular vet, we're able to help them retain clients instead of clients, going to another veterinary facility because, they can't reach a veterinary professional. They're able to reach us, and then we can either let them know, okay, this can wait for an appointment with your regular vet, or yes, this is an emergency situation, and we help them navigate, where to go for emergency help. So there isn't the concern of, oh, I'm going to lose clients by having, this service, this telemedicine service, because they're being retained.
And I think to Julie's point, if I may real quick, I think to your point about the survey, I think that's a great idea. It's a fantastic place to start. You can ask your clients if they're interested in this remote care. And if you personally want to be available for yourself, for your own clients remotely, then there are plenty of pure telemedicine platforms out there that I would even be happy to recommend you to, because we focus more on the triage right now, that are fantastic. And it is a broad universe. But if you start to see that there is a bit of a need after hours, I would try to see if you have a tracking tool to see how many calls you're getting after hours. A lot of practices don't. They only measure the number of voicemails they get, or they only see the number of reports they get from the ER the next day. And they don't realize how many clients are trying to reach them after hours. So that's one big thing. If you have a cloud-based system, it's really easy. It's a little bit harder if you have an old school PBX system. but it's something to think about, right? But just engaging with your clients and asking them, what are your needs? If you're in a rural area where it takes you 45 minutes to get into a practice or an hour and a half to get to your ER, this is definitely something that you should be considering. If you're in the city, you know, then mobility is another issue that you need to be thinking about, because not everybody has a car, or, you know, looking at the demographics of your clients. If they're a little bit more elderly, it might be a little bit more challenging. If you have very difficult winter areas, might be more challenging to get to, you know, out of the home. So asking your clients, to Julie's point, is, I think, the first step to understanding what the needs are for your practice, and then talking to your team too, and seeing if they personally want to be available, or if this is something that is best served by potentially outsourcing the issue.
That's an interesting point, because I'm assuming by everyone being on this call today, there's a huge interest in it. But I guess there would be specific hospital staffs who go, listen, I put in my 40 hours, I don't want to be doing any more. And so there could be some resistance there as well. I guess I hadn't thought about that could be.
That's usually what we see, is that burnout and compassion fatigue are a very real issue, right? And so, you know, we asked the industry, why is it that this hasn't been solved earlier? And people came to us and said, well, we work really hard during the day, and to ask us to be on call 24/7 it's tough. So that's why we exist, and that's why we have the business model that we do. But there's certainly a lot of practices out there. I'm sure you all know the owners that have been in business for 30 years and taking the calls themselves for a number of decades. That model also exists. So they're equally valid. It just depends on what the needs of your clients are and what your team also wants to do.
We have a question about, oh, sorry, Catherine, about Canadian technicians. So how does this apply in Canada? I mean, how does it work across country lines? That's a really good question. I hadn't even thought about the fact that the rules and the ability to do work like this in Canada might be totally different.
We definitely have had interest in Canada. We're not currently operating there, but we are talking to the College of Veterinarians in Ontario, for example. But that's right now we're just focusing on the U.S. market, at least on our end.
Julie, do you know from your
I don't know. I'm just wondering, Angela, if you are interested in like the positions with John's company, or if you're actually interested in the service for your own hospital. So that could be a difference too. And I don't know if John has an opinion about hiring across the border, what that might entail.
Angela's unmuted herself now. You can maybe.
Oh yeah, let Angela jump in. Come on in, Angela.
Hi, yeah, I did have some, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I was curious about working with such companies, and triage is interesting, as well as perhaps other specialties. I'm a VTS in anesthesia and analgesia, so I wonder if that might be coming down the pipe as well, and wondered about my Canadian status.
So in my specific point of view, I think if we're looking at international expansion, we have to match, from what I understand, professionals in that country. So if we start to, we have had Canadian practices that want to offer this. So we would have people like you, if you may be interested, certainly open to talk. But we would try to keep the countries separate. I mean, we're looking at pricing models as well, to be frank, to expand beyond the US. So we can talk about that separately. I'd definitely be open to it.
Angela, we can connect you with John, and John, you with Angela. Happy if you guys are both open to that, we can absolutely do it. That's one of the great things about the Bridge Club, is it is your opportunity to potentially network as we're moving forward. I know we're coming close to the end, but I did want to ask a question for those that are doing telemedicine right now. Do you miss touching the animals? I mean, do you miss that kind of connection point with the animals? I am curious about that in your care. Any of them?
For me, it's definitely, I miss it, because there's nothing better than having a cute puppy or kitten that, you can hold and kiss on. But at the same time, we still are able to reach clients that are in need. And really, for me as a technician, that's what makes the best difference, is still being able to reach that client and to ease their concern.
That's what I was going to say too, is it's a different capacity that you're helping in. You may not be able to feel and touch that animal, but you are really doing a lot of good for that animal, making the clients understand, you know, why they need to go in or not, what's important and what's preventative medicine. They don't understand what we're trying to get across to them in the hospitals, you know, with as much time as what we have in that 15-20 minute time span for appointments.
I really like the comments that I think Kathy, Nicole, and Christiana had all said. It's like a peace of mind, right? You're helping to provide peace of mind to that pet owner and take away a little bit of that panic and let them know, yes, you should be panicked, or like, no, it's okay, you know, calm down, it's going to be all right. So to me, being an emotional person myself, I'd be like, hallelujah, someone that I could turn to, you know, help let me know, you know, do I need to be worried about this, or is it all going to be okay? So we have a really good question I wanted to be able to throw out to the group here too. And I think I know the answer, but since this isn't my gig, Kathy had said she's not associated with any practice. She's an anesthesia technician. Are there opportunities for her, you know, part-time or as an independent contractor with a company like Guardian Vet? So, you know, John, maybe you can best answer that type of question. Do you have to be associated with a practice? And
No. At a minimum, we require that you still are licensed. Or so if you're a CVT or an RVT or an LVT, but you're still a licensed technician, that's very important to us. But as long as you have, you know, not only the relevant background, but the right soft skills, we are actively looking for great people to join the team. So
I think the answer, Kathy, is it's absolutely okay
Yeah.
to be associated with that and to work independently.
I wonder too if Kathy's wondering if she could branch off too on her own as telemedicine comes about. And I think that as a technician, you're still going to have to be under supervision at some capacity, depending on where you're at. And it just really depends on your state. A lot of times you need to make sure that you're abiding by the Practice Act. And of course, there's going to be more possibilities coming down the road, because this is a huge opportunity for technicians. And I think too that not only are you helping your current clients, patients, but there's an opportunity to expand on your client base, because you're reaching and allowing opportunity for people to call your practice when they may not otherwise do so.
So before we end up kind of closing out a little bit, I just want to make sure that we're answering all the questions that you guys wanted to have answered. We figured it was, what are the opportunities? How much time? Am I going to get paid well? Is it worth it? What are the different things that I can do? Is there any other questions before we bid everyone a happy Friday that you would like to throw out there?
I think too, for anybody, we, you know, we can certainly, in our thank you email, we can certainly give you the contact information, you know, for John's organization. And then, you know, at least you'll know where to reach out, or if you want to ask questions specifically of John and his team. There were some comments earlier that places like Indeed.com list jobs like this too. So if you're looking for something that's maybe more local to where you are, there seem to be a lot of places to find this information, connecting it with people at conferences, looking for the booths of the companies at VMX or WBC or CBC or whatever they're called now, and you know, other state conferences even. So
there's also AVMA. If you go on the AVMA job board and you just look at nationwide, a lot of those are remote jobs. So that's a great source.
Really good advice.
Good advice. So with that, everybody, it is Friday. Woo! Let's get excited about that. So with that, if everyone will raise their glass one last time, I want to thank both Julie and Becky and John and Guardian Vet for all their additional insight here. We really, really appreciate it. And again, thank you to all the technicians for the amazing work that you do. Happy end to Happy Technicians Week. And to everyone, happy Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, all.